Hi and welcome back to my channel, Jan at the Barn. My name is Manon and I'm a programmer, horsey girl and a knitter, and it's of course the knitting that we talk about on this channel. Archie is here once again, yes, wanting attention, wanting belly tickles, so you might hear him snore in a bit because he's probably going to fall asleep, but we'll see about that. I will need my right hand to scroll through my notes, Archie, you know. Anyway, oh, and I've got an itch. And now he's going to do something very cute. And oh, yeah. He's requesting more belly tickles. Anyway, for this week's video, I have been collecting quite a list of winter accessories that can also really work as gift knits. And so we're going to go through them. I have not counted them, but I think there's almost 20. There's not quite 20. I was good. I didn't make the list too long. I have a Ravelry bundle that I will link down in the description, and that will contain a few more patterns, but I didn't feel like I had to talk about all of them, but there's some extra goodies in there. So if you're curious, you can click on that link to see all the patterns plus some extra ones. We're going to do this bottom up. So we're going to start with feet and we'll end with the head. And no, there's no socks in this video because I think socks almost deserve their own video. Also, socks are quite involved as a gift knit. Do people knit socks as gift knits? I'm sure, but okay, I've never knitted socks before because I filled Socktober this year. So it was the plan to knit socks, but I didn't. And so I don't feel 100% qualified to go into gift knitting for like socks. Not I've knitted any, like all the patterns that I'm going to talk about now. But I don't have a lot of understanding about socks. I did a video of several knitting sock patterns that I would feel comfortable starting with. Before I do another sock video, I'm going to have to gain some experience with knitting socks. Okay, so as always, my notes are over here. So I'm going to be looking in that direction instead of at you all the time. But we can dive in with little slippers that look absolutely adorable and are surprisingly easy to knit, I believe. These are the cabin slippers by Saskie Co. Saskie & Co. or Saskie Knits. But it's this lovely lady who had a pet rabbit called Saskie, and she named her, well, little knitting business name after her rabbit, and sadly her pet rabbit passed away some time ago, but she has been creating 10 patterns in honor of her, well, past pet rabbit, with the theme of the rabbit, of course. And this is one of them. And these lovely little slippers have little motifs that you'll see in all of her other patterns in her book. The book is not out yet, but you can pre-order it, and I think it's going to be released in December. And so if you go to her website, you can pre-order it, and it will be sent to you in December of this year. So, I mean, it's a really cute, endearing story. And she has some really beautiful patterns. So this is only one of the 10. There's some other beautiful ones in there, so definitely go and check those out. But these lovely little slippers, they're constructed by seaming little knitted squares together. So you don't have to do any shaping while knitting them. Just knit squares and then you sew them together. And it looks like there's a little finishing edge around them, I'm not sure if that's an I-cord or something else, but I mean, they look so cute, and it seems like the perfect, easy little project to knit little squares. Ouch, that's the microphone. You have to be a bit careful. So it sounds really easy, and I think it's a really great idea to do it this way. Also, this way you can use all your stash yarns in the correct gauge, of course, but use up all those different colors for the color work in this. So all in all, that's really great. So it doesn't have any projects on Ravelry yet because the book is not out. And the book would cost you 52 Canadian dollars. I forgot to look up how much that is in euros, but I will put that there on the screen for in euros and in dollars for every pattern that I'm going to talk about. And then the needle size for this pattern is 5mm, so that's a US 8. The gauge for this pattern is 20 stitches in color work. And so it's a Ravelry is saying it's a worsted weight. Yeah, I would say it's beaten like a heavy DK / worsted weight. There's different things you could use for this. Considering that it's something that is gonna possibly like touch the ground since it's on your feet, maybe don't go with something that is too soft. It will possibly start pilling very soon, so I would go for a more rustic yarn. On the other hand, if your feet are easily tickled, then maybe you do want to go for something soft. So worsted weights, there's quite a few worsted patterns in this roundup. So the sort of first yarns that spring to mind for me, for what I know, are... That was a very, very deep sigh, you. Mm-hmm. I was saying the yarns that I know about. There's Knitting for Live Heavy Merino, so that is going to be quite soft. Then I'm currently working with, it's just in front of me, so I can show you if I don't drop the entire project. This is the Rerum Natura Gilead, which is also a worsted weight yarn. It's 100% merino, but there's two different types of merino, which give the color like a tiny bit of marling, but a bit of depth. So I really like it. Not every color has that. Some of them are just pure white merino. Some of them have Portuguese merino, which is black. Anyway, so that's one other option. And then there's also the Filcolana Peruvian. So that is the three that I know in that weight. I don't usually work at that gauge, so I don't know a lot of these, but I'm sure the book will have some suggestions for yarns that you could use for this. And of course, you can use 2 strands of a different yarn that you might have in stash. Size-wise, there's 3 different sizes, so for different length of your foot, feet, assuming you're going to make 2 of these. And the sizes range between 22.5 to 27 centimeters in foot length. This book only comes in English, and that is it. I thought I had something else, but I've told you everything about this one already. We're going to move to the next pattern, and we go, this was my only pattern for the feet. I have nothing for legs. If you want to make leg warmers, just knit tubes. And so we're moving to hands, and we're going to start with fingerless gloves because they're relatively easy. So especially for if you need to make like a quick gift knit. Thanks, Arch. Is that much better? Relatively easy to knit up. Fingerless gloves. The only difficult part is like the thumb, where you have to knit this extra little tube. But other than that, it's fairly easy. I mean, it's a small circumference, of course, but gift knits are small in general. So it's always going to be something on small, either small needle or small circumference or whatever. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. The next pattern is, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but Gronmo? Gronmo? I have no idea. It has like a stripe in the O. And this is a pattern by, I'm going to butcher that name probably, Lanja Khon-Engheim. So you can make super simple little fingerless gloves, penny gloves, however you want to call them. Petite Knit has a very easy pattern for those if you want a super simple one. I get a little bit bored if it's just plain stockinette. So we have to add something. And these have really beautiful cables. And why not? Then it adds a little bit, of extra texture on top. That means there's a little bit of extra air, which possibly could mean a little bit more warmth. I'm freezing up, it's really annoying. I mean, they're just gorgeous. That is more than enough as a reason to go for these. They were released, so this is relatively new release. They were released in November 2025. They have 3 projects on Ravelry, and they would cost you €2.43. I mean, that's a steal. They are knitted up on 3mm needles. It's a US 2.5, so it is a small gauge. But then the gauge, oh yeah, no, it says 15 centimeters in stockinette, and then you're like, oh, but that's quite big. Yeah, but that's for 5 centimeters, so it's 30 centimeters for the usual 10 centimeter 4-inch swatch that you're supposed to do. So yeah, don't let that fool you like it just did me. The suggested yarn is Dilgarn, Dilgarn Baby Wool, so that's 100% merino. Any yarn in fingering weight will do. If you want something more rustic, go for like an actual 100% wool. If you want something a bit softer, you could go with merino. It's cables if you want good cable definition. Don't pair it with a mohair. And it's quite a small gauge anyway, so it's going to be hard to find a yarn that is small enough to hit gauge paired with a lace weight added to that anyway. So yeah, I would just stick with the one yarn. It only has one size, and that's for a circumference of 17 centimeters. That is relatively small, so these will be quite fitting. It's not small, I guess. It's sort of average for women's hands, but if you wanted to make these for men, add some stitches because it's going to be quite tight. It comes in English, and the construction is cuff up, so depending on how you hold your hand, but you start at the wrist and you go up towards your fingers. And small word of warning, it is charted only. So if you don't like to read charts, you want to read written instructions, this is not going to work for this pattern. But yeah, I don't think it's a hugely difficult pattern. You could also write it out if you wanted to. But yeah, that is it for this one. And we're going to move to the next. You move a lot today, you know? Oh yeah, and now he gives up again. I was going to say, we're moving on to the next fingerless gloves. And after that, we'll move to mittens. These are the Alex mittens by Cecile Tricote. You're an enfant terrible. Oh yeah, and as soon as you give him belly tickles, he like fully relaxes and he's fine. But I do need a hand to like scroll through my notes, Archie. Okay, we're gonna try and continue, even with the little demon here. Anyway, this is a relatively new release. They were released in October 2025, and I don't know, the pattern is relatively okay. The colorwork pattern is relatively simple, but that's kind of why I like them. It's not trying to do very elaborate things, so it's a very simple repeating pattern. So you'll have the pattern down in like a couple rounds. not a couple, maybe half a dozen rounds. You'll remember the pattern. And then it's going to be a really easy, relaxing knit. So that is pretty nice. I tried colour work for the first time yesterday evening. I don't have the swatches here. Great preparation. They're downstairs. But it's very addictive. And so I think these mittens would be awesome. Considering they've been published like about a month ago, it's quite nice that they already have 22 projects on Ravelry. They would cost you €7.41, and they're knitted up on 3mm needles, so that's a US 2.5. And the gauge for this one is 37 stitches in stranded colour work. Ideally, you want to swatch this in the round, but yeah, it's nice and tight, so that it's a beautiful colour work. Or at least the sample was knitted up in Lanjarn's Yarrow Superwash 75-25, and 75-25 stands for 75% wool and 25% merino. Not merino, what am I saying? Nylon. So that way there will be a bit more resistance. It's a sock yarn. And I think that is not a bad idea for quite a lot of these accessories, especially mittens. Things are going to be used a lot, are going to touch things. There's going to be quite a bit of rubbing, etc. It's not a bad idea to opt for a sock yarn, something that has some extra material to make it stronger. So definitely a good idea. If you want something that is like pure animal fibers, then I would go for something a bit toothy. I mean, it's color work, so a peregrine, for example, something that is just a little bit more rustic than a merino, I think it's going to look better. It has 6 sizes, so that's lovely. It ranges from a hand circumference between 16 centimeters and 22 centimeters. So you can knit them for big man hands, basically. It comes in English and in French, and once again the construction is you start at the wrists and you go up towards the fingers. You want to be on my lap, and then you can't stop moving. Yeah, can't oversee the consequences of his action, this one. I mean, he's a dog. I think we can forgive him, basically. Okay, we are going to move to the next pattern and also the next category, which is mittens. And before I talk about, I selected a couple patterns of mittens that I think are really nice. I'm going to be knitting the Patronus mittens. If you are interested, I have talked about that in my previous video. There was a knitting podcast, and I'm telling you all about why I'm knitting those. I'm not knitting them for myself. They are a gift knit. And in my next knitting update, probably next week, I will show you a bit more about. I can show you the start. It's right here, but don't drop any needles. I've started the cuff. I kind of stupidly ordered the wrong color. I'll show you that next week. But for the color work, I ordered a color that I thought was going to be perfect, and it's way too dark. So the contrast would be quite bad. And so now I'm waiting for my second order with the different color, so that this will work. But I've already started the cuff. I've got 7 centimeters of knitting to do. That is a free pattern, by the way. It is in the bundle if you want to have a look and find those. But yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go visit my brother, and I hoped I would have the yarn to knit these on the train on my way to my brother. It's not going to be here. It's not even left the warehouse yet, so there's no way it's going to be delivered in time. So I'm going to knit on other things this weekend. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. We are coming back to actual patterns that we're going to talk about. Yeah. And this next pattern is the Sylvestris Mittens, and they're designed by Ingrid. And I mean, if this is not the most beautiful Christmassy mitten, but that will also work for the rest of winter, it's not just for Christmas, then I don't know. I mean, then tell me what other pattern is better. It's a new release. It's just been released this month in November 2025. It's got one project on Ravelry. It would cost you €5.35. It's knitted on tiny little needles. That's why you get a beautiful, very precise motif. It's 2.5 millimeters, so that's a US 1.5, and the gauge is 32 stitches in the colorwork. The suggested yarn, there's quite a few that are mentioned, two of which are drops Nord, so that is once again wool and nylon, and then also some that's gone tin peergynt, so the thinner version of peergynt, which I'm using on my Ignite cardigan, and it's lovely. Other ideas, you could do this in alpaca for warmth, and it's going to be just a little tiny bit fluffy, and I think it would be really, really nice. It only comes in one size, and I don't think I've been able to find that. No, so it has lots of measurements for the length, but not for the circumference of the mitten. So that is a little bit too bad. Anyway, one thing to know as well is that it uses 2 balls of 50-gram yarn for each. So usually if this is fingering weight that has been used here, and most of those balls will come in 50 grams, and so you just need to get 2 balls, so one of each color, and you'll have enough for both mittens. So it's a great stash busting project once again. As for languages, it comes in English and in Norwegian. Construction, couldn't find any details, but it looks like it's a mitten, so it should be bottom up, so wrist to fingers. It has 2 options for the cuff. You can do a ribbed cuff, or like the photos on the Ravelry page that I'm also going to show you here. You could do the pattern on the cuff, which I think looks lovely. Just make sure that it's not going to fall off your hand. But yeah, you could also put a little bit of elastic in it to make sure that it's going to be okay, because that pattern looks really, really gorgeous. On to the next one, which is Frostline by Wool and Pine. And okay, have I ever done a pattern roundup where I don't mention Wool and Pine? I don't think so. There's a few recurrent designers in my pattern roundups, but this one you can't buy online yet. This pattern is included in the latest issue from Laine magazine, so that's number 27, and that was released in November 2025, so just like I think a week ago or something like that. With patterns from Laine magazine, I've noticed that after a certain period of time, they do come online. So if you really don't want to buy the magazine, which is a good gift for knitters, by the way, just saying, but if you don't want to buy it, you can wait until, I don't know, next year, and then it might be online. So there we go. But anyway, these mittens are lovely. I'm a sucker for texture for cables, so that explains why I love these, I guess. Yeah, what else can I say? They're just really beautiful. They, as of now, have 0 projects on Ravelry, but I think this issue of Laine magazine has only been out for like so shortly that I don't think a lot of people have started working on them yet. But anyway, and then as of cost, well, once the pattern will be out in like a year or so to be bought separately, I don't know what it's going to cost, but for now, the Laine magazine is €25, and then you have to add shipping, or you buy the digital version, which is €22, and then you have it straight away, and there's no shipping, of course. So yeah, if you just want it for this pattern, it's a little bit expensive, but have a look through it. There's quite a few nice patterns in there. Just saying, have a look, and maybe this is a nice present to yourself, or for Thanksgiving, or for Sinterklaas if you live in the Netherlands, or for Christmas. But then you just have to wait a little bit longer. Anyway, as to the specs, it's knitted on 3.5 millimeters, so that's a US 4. It has a gauge of 20 stitches in stockinette. Then you have to do a second swatch for the cable motif, and that is 30 stitches in 8 centimeters. And I like that they do a gauge swatch for both. Right, they're knitted in the round, so if you can't hit gauge on the same needles for one of those, what are you going to do? Are you going to switch your needles in the middle of the round? I don't think so. But then you can make a decision, okay, which one do I want to be, small or bigger? And then see. The recommended yarn for this one is a merino yarn. It's Findley Dyework Superwash Merino Worsted, so it's quite a big gauge, which is not big gauge, it's quite a thick yarn. I'm a little bit surprised that they will work it on such tiny needles though. 3.5 for a worsted weight yarn. Nah, I guess why not? It's going to be quite a thick fabric, and you don't want your hands to get cold, so it does make sense, I guess. Yeah, yarn suggestions for worsted weight. I have my 3 usuals, which is Knitting for Olive, Heavy Merino, the Filcolana Peruvian, or the Rerum Natura Gilead. And then the nice thing about this pattern is it uses 100 grams, and these balls come into 100 grams. So you just need to order one. So that's easy if this is the yarn you want to go for. It has 3 sizes, and it will range between like a hand circumference between 16.5 centimeters and 20.5 centimeters. And Laine magazine comes either in English or in Finnish. And then construction, it is cough up. I mean, it's a mitten. And then for the last mittens in this roundup, this is Sommar by MadeByMarta, and I think it's just gorgeous. That color combination of the sort of like golden ochre beige, I don't know what to call that color. I think ochre is the best name for it, with the white. That's what I use to swatch for my mittens, and it's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. So I want to make this, especially the inside with the stripes. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Also, because there's so many color changes, you're not going to have to catch your floats. So if you don't want to have to worry about that, this is a great pattern. Also, the thumb shaping looks very good. It did on other patterns as well, but I'm just noticing it on here, that there's definitely going to be enough space for this part of your hand. Sorry, I can't show you very well because there's an Archie snoring on my left arm. Anyway, on to the specs. This one was released in May 2025, and the name is quite funny because it's summer, so it's summer in, I don't know, is that Swedish? I think so. But it's supposed to be a summer pattern. I mean, it's supposed to be flowers for a winter garment. I don't know, to me those could be sort of slightly icy crystals as well, and it doesn't scream summer to me because of the nature of the project, but it's all okay. It only has 1 project on Ravelry. It's a bit lonely. I think it should get some company. It would cost €4.15, and the needles used for this one is 3.5 millimeters. So that's a US 4. The gauge is 26 stitches. in stockinette, although it says in stockinette, but I'm pretty sure it's in the colorwork motif. And then it has quite a few options for yarn suggestions. It has Drops Charisma, it has Let Lopi, it has another yarn that I don't know from Rauma 3 Threads Tricote, so a 3-ply yarn. Any woolly DK is probably gonna do. Not super big bulky DK, but like between sport and DK, I think it's gonna be quite nice. It only has one size for a circumference of 20 centimeters, so that is, yeah, that will fit most hands. If you have very, very big hands, then add some stitches on either side of the mitten, so you can do a little alternating pattern or something like that, to create a little bit more wiggle room in there. This pattern comes in English and in Swedish. It is knitted cuff up, and I'm not sure, I couldn't quite find this information, but it looks like it's charted only, so that there's no written instructions, but not 100% sure. So, no, I don't know. Then we're going to move up a little bit more from hands to neck. And I mean, I love having, okay, this is a very bad example, but normally I like having something around my neck. It's just now I've got the heater set quite high, so I don't need that at the moment. But if I go outside, I will always wear a scarf or something like that in winter. So quite a lot of cowls, quite a few scarves. I will do a separate video on scarves because I've always been obsessed with scarves. Back to cowls. We're going to start with cowls first, and we're going to start with the Binate, not sure, Binate Cowl by Kris Carlson, and this one is really lovely. So you can do this. It's like reversible, so you can do 2 different colors for 2 different moods, or for 2 different combinations with coats or hats or you name it. But that way it gives you a little bit more versatility with just one item. It has a little picot edge. Am I obsessed with picots? Maybe. And it's not double knitted because you knit both sides and then you graft them together. But that gives you extra warmth. So I think that is quite smart. This one is quite a new release. Once again, October 2025, so only 3 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €6.30. It's knitted on 4.5mm needles, that's a US 7, and the gauge is 22 stitches in stockinette. There's quite a lot of yarn suggestions in the pattern, 2 of which are Malabrigo Rios and Julia Celine Lezu DK. So that tells you straight away, this is for DK / worsted. But you can adapt this for pretty much any gauge. I mean, it's a tube. It's not hard. It just has really nice details, and the pattern will explain how to do the picots, how to make it fit so that you can reverse it, etc. But the idea is not hard. So bigger yarn, smaller yarn, add some stitches, as long as it fits over your neck, over your head and onto your neck. What I would maybe do, I don't know, maybe an alpaca so that it's extra warm. The one thing with scarves and cowls is that if you add mohair, I end up having mohair in my mouth all the time as soon as I pull the scarf in front of my face. And if I'm on a bike or on a scooter, then I'm going quite fast and I want to do that to stay warm, to not arrive and have like a frozen jaw and not be able to talk because I can't feel it at all. And so yeah, I end up with fibers in my mouth and it's not great. So that's the one downside. You can make it very fluffy and it looks really nice, but then there's the mouth problem. I don't know. You could do something where the outside has mohair and then for the inside part you take the mohair away. That could work. It's less reversible then, of course, but oh, the dog has farted and it really stinks. Oh, tried it. Okay, I know why he does it, but it's that is properly evil. It's like this dog has the potential of being a weapon of mass destruction. It's just really terrible. Anyone who has a dog knows there's dog farts and then there's bad dog farts. But okay, enough about the dog farts. We are moving on about the cowl. Sorry, it keeps Arch. I'm sorry. This doesn't happen very often, but he's been a bit farty since yesterday evening. I don't know why. I didn't give him anything else. I haven't seen him eat anything weird outside. Anyway, now we are definitely going back to the cowls. It comes in one size, but as I said, you could change how many stitches you cast on as long as it works out for doing the picot edges. I think it will be fine. It comes in English, and construction wise you start with a provisional cast on in order to, once you've done the two sides of the tube and you get back to where you started, then you can knit onto that, and it's a very neat finish so that it's properly reversible. So that was all the details on that one. Then we move to, in fact, it's a bundle, but the one that I want to talk about is the cowl. This is the Calabogie hat and cowl set. And it's a design by Stashbusters Union. And that made me laugh because Stashbuster. Okay, I will stop doing weird things today. Well, I'll try. Anyway, they have quite a few sets like this one. So if you want to get a pattern that has both a cowl and a hat, and sometimes they have a headband as well, some other accessories, then check out their account on Ravelry. And then this one, I mean, it's a relatively simple pattern. As in the color work, repeat, it's not too difficult, but it looks really nice. So this is probably going to be quite a fast knit and going to look quite difficult, but you can do it relatively fast, so that's nice. Anyway, this is a new release, November 2025. It has 3 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €4.92. It is knitted on 5mm needles, so that's US 8, and the gauge is 11 stitches in a colorwork pattern. So this is very much a worsted weight project. I mean, it's probably even bigger. I mean, that's not a lot of stitches per 10 centimeters at all. The suggested yarn is Laine brand Heartland. This is in acrylic, so not my type of yarn usually. I would go for something like this, animal fibers. And once again, this is a cowl, so it's not something that's going to be stretched a lot. It's not very big, so it doesn't have to be very heavy, so you can go for alpaca, but I mean, go for whatever you want to. And then for the sizes, it's one size, but it does have instructions. So the cowl is one size, I should say. The hat has 2 sizes. But it does have instructions for the cowl on how to make it bigger or smaller, depending on your wishes or who this is going to be knit for. It only comes in English, and I mean, it's a tube. What do you want me to say about construction? You can knit it bottom up or top down, whatever you want. And then on to the next one, which is Archie is back amongst us. And this is a pattern by one of my favorite designers. This is Rachel Illsley, so she's known on the socials as Unwind Knitwear. That's a car, Archie. It's not a dinosaur coming to eat you. And this is the Kismet Cowl. So I think she has a jumper with these colorwork motifs as well. And I mean, it's gorgeous. And once again, there's two versions. We'll get into that into just a bit. But yeah, it looks really intricate. But there's only two colors worked at the same time per row. So it's not like you have to carry lots of colors with you, but you get this really beautiful, intricate motif. And I mean, you can use as many colors as you want. So once again, good Stashbuster. I think a hand-dyed yarn or like leftovers from hand-dyed yarns would be awesome for this one. But first the stats. So this was released in July 2023. This is not a new release. There's a few patterns in this roundup that are not new releases, but that have been in my list for great winter accessories for quite a long time, and I'm still going to include them because they're timeless, they're amazing. It has 32 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €5.81. It's knitted on 4mm needles, that's a US 6, and the gauge is 22 stitches in color work. It doesn't have a suggested yarn, but it looks like a, it says a DK, it's borderline DK sport weight, I think, but that's just me. Also size-wise, it says it has 9 different sizes. That's because there's 2 different options, with for each option it has various sizes, and so they're not quite the same sizes, but it's about like 40, I think it was between 47 centimeters and 60 centimeters, but depending on the design that you choose, it's varying a little bit. It comes in English, and then on to construction. It depends on the option you choose. So there's one option that is like a basic cowl. It's bottom up or top down or whatever you want to do. You start with ribbing, twisted ribbing in this case, then you do the color work, and then you end with some more ribbing, and you do all that in the round, and that's it. And then you have your tube that is a cowl. The other option I haven't seen very often, or at all in fact, for a cowl, and it's a tube that you will graft onto itself, and so the color work is moving from one side to the other instead of being from top to bottom or bottom to top. So that's quite nice, and you can see in the pictures that it gives quite a nice look, and then the color work motif is repeated twice for the entire cowl, and so that way you can turn it around. It's a bit more versatile in that way. It's warmer because it's well, essentially double knitted because it's a tube, so you always have 2 layers. So yeah, I think that's really cool. I think it's really interesting. It's a bit more of an involved project if you don't make the simple version, of course. But if you have lots of little bits of yarn, more than what you would use for the simple version, then it's perfect, and you can make lots of different colors in there. I mean, once again, stash busting project. So yeah, it's also Rachel Illsley's patterns are like quite detailed without being too detailed. I mean, it's everyone has their own preferences, of course, but I really like the balance that she finds. I, for myself, find that some part of the instructions I don't necessarily need, because what I have knitted is the solarium hat, and it had written instructions for the charts, but I could just read the charts. But so she has different, also, that's quite a good one as well, she had like a video tutorial for how to do certain intricate cables, and she would show them both for with a cable needle or without a cable needle, which made it really interesting or very understandable for, okay, which method do I use? That's the part I'm watching. And so I can recognize instantly, oh, that is how that's going to work on my project as well, with the cable needle in my case. So yeah, kudos to her. And little side note, there's also a hat with this same color work pattern in her collection. So if you want to make a matching hat, you can. And then we're going to move from, oh no, I've got one more cowl. How could I forget? Because this one, I think this might be one of the first projects I liked on Ravelry that I put in my favorites. I'm not 100% sure. Archie. There's someone walking, probably walking their dog. I can't see it behind the hedge, but you know, I think it's okay. You can go and check in the garden later. Just make sure there's no intruders. Yeah. The next one is something I will definitely have to try at some point. I want to try all these patterns, to be clear, but this one has been on my list for so long that it definitely needs to happen at some point. And this is the Spot Cowl by Anne Ventzel. So I've talked in a previous pattern roundup for the men's sweaters that I want to do. She has a unisex sweater jumper version with this pattern, and I love it, and I want to knit it, and my husband wants one too, which is annoying because now I'm going to have to knit two. I don't have to, but I chose to say I would knit something for his birthday, so there we go. Now I have to. But yeah, this one has really nice details. We're going to talk about them in a minute. But it's not just the motif, it's also the little things that she did that make it look really perfect. Not a new release. Once again, this was released in October 2023. It has 147 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €5.58. And it is knitted on 4.5mm needles. That's a US 7, and it has a 21 stitch gauge in a color work. The suggested yarn is all easier. So it's Highland. So that's just a wool paired with silk mohair, and then together with Jensen paired with the mohair as well. But then there's also a version with Jensen and mohair, and then for the other color, Jensen without the mohair. I mean, there's lots of options. Any DK should work for this. But once again, because it's a cowl, I mean, the mohair version looks beautiful. It's nice and soft, so it's going to be so cozy. But you will end up with mohair in your mouth, I can guarantee it. Or go for something for mohair that really doesn't shed. So the drops mohair, for example, I find for the price that it is, it's quite soft. There's also quite a lot of colors, but some of them shed like hell. It's okay. I had some on my champagne cardigan, not too bad, no shedding problems. Oh, okay, yes, if I wore something dark underneath it, you could definitely tell I had been wearing it. But the red mohair I'm using for my Ingrid cardigan from Drops, there's like red fluff everywhere in my project bag. So yeah, that's just a word of warning to maybe be careful which mohair you're going to choose if you do want to do this with mohair. Back to the pattern. There's only one size, and that is for a circumference of 62 centimeters. So that should be big enough to pull over your head. As always with Anne Ventzel, it comes in lots of languages. It comes in English, Danish, German, Norwegian, and Swedish. And then the construction. So it is knitted top down. You start with an Italian cast on, then you do a bit of twisted ribbing, then you do the color work, and then you add some short row shaping so that the back is not lower than the front, which I think is really nice. And then you split, because this is a cowl but also a little bit of a neck. And so you split and then you do flat knitting for the back and the front. And that is in twisted ribbing. And I'm saying that because not everyone likes to do twisted pearls, because since it's flat, you're going to have to turn it around. Just that is my only little downside. But I mean, it's just a little bit of front, a little bit of back. How bad can it be, guys? And it's just, yeah, the detailing looks beautiful. Is that she has the side where there's like 2 stripes on either side, and that way you don't see where the color work, what's it called, jogs, where there's a jog in the color work, because it's just a stripe. And it's these kind of tiny little details that just make me happy. It's when a designer thinks about these kind of little things. So yeah, I love this one. I will have to knit it at some point. In fact, I should. So I really want to try some easier yarns, but they're quite expensive, and so I don't want to order a big bunch of them. Anyway, I'm not really allowed to order much more yarns, but I will probably. But when I'm at my brother's, who lives in Munich, I'm going to see if we can go to some yarn shops. And if they have some easier yarns, I might get some to make this, because this is a small project, so I can just get a few in and I can get a feel for what the yarn is like. Yeah, my excuse is going to be I need to try this so I can discuss different yarn types on this channel. It's a great excuse. It's not. Anyway, we're going to move to the next one before I talk more nonsense. And we move to scarves. So once again, I will do a whole separate video on scarves, but couldn't stop myself. I had to include 2. One of which is sort of a hood, so it only counts as half. But this one is a new release, so we're going to talk about this one. First, this is the Ingrid Scarf Mini, and this is a design by Mette. I should just put a disclaimer at the start of the video. Sorry for butchering any names. But anyway, I love herringbone stitch, or at least I love how it looks. It's relatively small, relatively slowish to knit, although the last time I tried is possibly 2 years ago. It's before we moved to this part of the Netherlands. I have like a big swatch that I did just out of interest, because I had seen herringbone stitch probably on Pinterest. I was like, that looks cool, I want to try that. So I just got one ball of yarn and did that, and it looks amazing. And so the nice thing with herringbone stitch is it creates this kind of thick fabric, so it's going to be quite warm. And I'm dreaming of a herringbone sweater, but then the fabric, it's going to be so heavy and not very drapey that I don't think it would work really well. Also, don't work a line of herringbone into fabric that is not entirely herringbone, because it's a lot tighter than stockinette, for example. So yeah, word of warning, don't think you can do like just a little bit of herringbone and that it's not gonna. So if you want to, at the beginning of your mitten, if you want it to like really cinch, then do 2 lines of herringbone and it looks like a little braid and it's perfect. But know what you're doing. Don't just do this, oh, it's going to look amazing and it's going to be just as wide as the other stitches. Archie, that's a van. I don't think they're child abductors, Archie. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, you stink. Yeah, I would too if I didn't brush my teeth every day. Anyway, back to the scarf. This one was released in October 2025. It has 8 projects on Ravelry, and it would cost you €5.58. It's knitted on 6mm needles. That's a US 10. It's a good thing to know with a herringbone stitch is that you knit it on bigger needles than you would normally use for the yarn that you use. So because this is a scarf, this pattern doesn't really have an exact gauge. So just use whatever yarn you want, and it's gonna influence how big or small your scarf is going to be. but it gives you a bit of a range, and there's like a table on the Ravelry page for like if your gauge in stockinette is around 22 stitches, then use these kind of needles. If it's, I don't know, 24, 26, do this. If it's 28, do that. So you can pick quite a large array of yarn and then refer to the pattern for what your needle size should be. But yeah, you can do a stockinette swatch, or if you have used the yarn before and you have a stockinette swatch in a certain needle size, then you can look at this pattern and see what needle size you should use for that gauge, that yarn. I hope I'm making sense. But yeah, it's a scarf. So as the pattern says, she has suggestions on what to use, but I mean, go wild. You can do whatever you want. The what's it called? The sample in the pictures is knitted in Lang Cashmere Premium. It looks gorgeous. I want it too. But you can use another cashmere yarn, like Cardiff Cashmere, for example. So you would need 2 balls, which, you know, is not a bad little Christmas gift either to yourself or to put on the list. But yeah, I think what would also look really nice is not Arch. It's fine. That's just an old lady walking past, and you are stuck in my jumper. Thanks. What was I saying? Oh yeah. The little. I should really look up the little swatch that I made in herringbone. But what I did is I used a single strand yarn, and that looks quite nice. So if you have some single strands yarns that you're not using because they're not great for sweaters or stuff like that, it's amazing for this. And then some hand-dyed yarns will look really nice as well. I think a little bit of fluff is also nice for this one, but yeah, choose whatever yarn you want. Adapt the amount of increases, decreases, and you'll have a gorgeous scarf. So yeah, it sort of comes in one size. For with the suggested yarns, it would be 120 centimeters long, but once again, make it as long or short as you want. It comes in English and in Danish, and the construction is from tip to tip. What can I say? I mean, it looks like it has like an I-cord edge on the side. It's like very similar to a Sophie scarf, but with a different stitch. Yeah, herringbone is reversible as well, so that is really nice. Okay, before I keep on talking about herringbone and my love for it, we're going to move to the next project, which is the My Flow Hood by Norwegian Knit. So that's Kirsten Norgard. And this is also a relatively new release. It's from October 2025. It has 33 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €8.37. It is knitted on 5mm needles. That's US 8. And the gauge is 16 stitches in half fisherman's rib. Thanks, Arch. The yarn used for this one, the suggested one, is Gepard Garn Kitseta paired with Woolia. And so Woolia is a merino. It's quite a big gauge, so you have to think like Aran. So either you hold a couple yarns together or you get a very big yarn. But I mean, look at the texture. It looks really okay. It's also half fisherman's rib. It's going to look very squishy and nice. But yeah, something with a bit of fluff. Even though on some of the pictures she's wearing it in front of her mouth, so mohair fluff in your mouth, not great. But it looks like the kind of project where you do need a bit of fluffiness and warm, cozy feeling. So yeah, I don't have a specific suggestion yarn-wise, as long as you make sure you have like it's big. And yeah, it can be used as a scarf, but also as a hood. So it only comes in one size. It from tip to tip, it would be 180 centimeters if you match the gauge, and it comes in English, Danish, French, German, and Norwegian. And then the increases that you see for the hood those are increases. They're not German short rows or anything, so it's relatively easy. And then the border in the front, or like on one side, that's a double knit border. It might be knitted, I think, at the same time as you're knitting the rest of the scarf, so you don't have to go and pick up 180 centimeters of double knit of stitches. But I couldn't like find that exactly in the description, so I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that is the case because it should be possible to do that. And then the other edge of the scarf is an I-cord. Yeah, I think it's lovely. My one little side notey critical thing would be it's not, the hood is not super deep, so will it stay on your head if you wear it like a hood, or is it gonna, well, it's quite easily gonna blow off if there's a bit of wind. So could you make it a little bit deeper if you added more increases, as in faster increasing? Might be. But then if you intend to wear it mostly as a scarf with just a little bit as a hood, then this will work perfectly. Okay, and then on to very seamlessly into hoods. And we're going to start with another pattern by Anna Ventzel. And this is the Balabeanie. It's not a new pattern either, but it's great. It's been released in January 2024, and it has already 44 patterns. It already has 44 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €5.58, and it is knitted on 3mm needles. That's US 2.5, and the gauge is 24 stitches in broken bib. Now, this pattern is basically a set because it's a balaclava and a beanie, and the balaclava is shaped in such a way that the beanie will fit underneath it. You can see it in the pictures. It looks really nice, and wool on wool will sort of, I wouldn't say attach itself to each other, but it's going to stay very nicely in place. So that's quite nice. There's two options as well. So there's like a plain colored one, there's nothing special, but there's also instructions for what is it called, a striped version, both the beanie and the balaclava. I like that it's a relatively fitted look, which you don't always see for hoods. And I like the combination with the hat. So yeah, I think it's cool. The suggested yarn is yarn, I don't know. It's Ghana Cumulus combined with Ghana Mariana 2, and those are both lace cashmere yarn. So one is just a lace cashmere thread, and the other one is like a brushed cashmere, so a bit like a silk mohair, but then it's cashmere. And yeah, it says they're both lace, but they look like they're in between lace and fingering, to be honest, because together they form a sport weight. So yeah, one might be fingering, the other one might be lace. Anyway, so I think you would have to play around with the gauge a little bit with different yarns if you choose to do that in a different yarn. I think this is not in front of your mouth, so you can definitely use mohair. Maybe merino and a lace weight alpaca thread to make it a little bit warmer would look really nice as well if you want a very soft, sleek version. But yeah, it only has one size. It comes in, it doesn't only come in English and in Finnish. I did something wrong with my notes once again. It comes in, it comes in English, Danish, French, German, Norwegian, and Swedish. And it is knitted top down. So for the hood, you start at the top, you make some sort of square, and then you'll go from there to knit all sides. And I don't know if you knit part of the side and then attach it to the others. but yeah, I know you start with a square. That's all I know. And then once you're done, I mean, you join in the round for the bottom part, and then you pick up all the stitches along the opening to add a little ribbed edge. So yeah, it sounds relatively easy, but the fit on this is it's gorgeous. It's once again, it's a bit far back, which is why it's paired with the beanie. So that it is covering enough, I would say. So yeah, it makes sense. And if it's a gift knit, you can just do one or the other. Next hood, we're almost there, guys. This is the Whistler Hood Volume 2. There must be a Volume 1. And this is a design by Tricote. And this is, once again, a new release, November 2025. It has 11 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €6.80. The needles used for this one are 4mm, so that's US 6, and the gauge in stockinette is 21 stitches. This is really nice and cozy. I mean, look at it. It's quite big, and it combines a cowl with the hood. So this is definitely something you would want to wear when it's very cold. Once again, though, it's quite big, but the designer has thought about that, so she's added a drawstring. So if it's blowing back a little bit too much, you can just make it a little bit tighter with the drawstring and make a nice little bow out of the I-cords. The suggested yarn is a yarn by Sadness Garn. It's the alpaca. Also, it's an alpaca yarn and like worsted weight, so it's nice and thick and warm. Other yarns suggested are Drops Lima or Sadness Garn Pergint. You can also hold Drops Alpaca, held double, also gets you about a worsted gauge, or you pair it with brushed alpaca if you want extra fluffiness, extra niceness. It comes in 2 sizes, and those will range between the circumference. Let me check though. So it's a hood circumference, and I'm wondering, is it the face hole or the head? I'm not 100% sure, but that ranges between 55 and 59 centimeters. It must be, because this is the hole. It must be the face hole, right? So depending on how big you want the hole to be. Quite a few languages, once again: English, Danish, Norwegian, Swedish. And then for the construction, you start with a cowl, which is done in ribbing, and then you do the shoulder section, so a bit lower down. You bind that off, and then you pick up stitches to do the cowl bottom up. And then there's a casing for the I-cord drawstring, like all around the face hole. I don't know, there might be a better word, but and I'm not sure if that is double knitted, or I think it's just folded double, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I could not find that in the pattern description, so to be investigated by whoever knits this. And then we're moving on to hats. 2 hats and then 1 little goodie to finish. The first hat is Muska by Pufido Knits, and this is just, I think it's a lovely kind of unisex design, because lots of these patterns are relatively feminine, and if that is okay for you as a man, or for the man you're knitting for, that's great. But there's not always a large variety of patterns that I think you see and you're like, oh, that would look great on a man. Okay, it helps that this is modeled on a man. Also, relatively new release, November 2025. It has 14 projects on Ravelry already. It would cost you €6.87, and it is knitted on 4mm needles, that's US 6, and the gauge in the colorwork pattern is 21 stitches. The suggested yarn is a yarn I don't know. It's Xola or Shola. I don't know how you pronounce it, but Bauma. It's 100% wool. It's like a DK. Yeah, so many DKs around. Pick whatever is going to work for you. It has two sizes ranging in circumference between 45.5 centimeters to 52 centimeters, and this is supposed to be worn with negative ease between 2.5 to 6.5 centimeters. It comes in English, and the construction is bottom up. And then a nice little detail, the name Muska and the pattern, it's inspired by a motif that is found on Turkish traditional designs, and Muska, so the name of the hat, means amulet. So it's supposed to be like protecting you from evil, danger, you name it. So a very nice hat to knit for your loved ones. Then on to the next one, and call me childish, but I want one of these. This is the Evergreen Stocking Cap. And I want a pointed hat like this. I think it's really fun, and why could you not wear this as an adult? Okay, it's not maybe not super stylish or serious, but for Christmas, I mean, yes, please, in white and red, or I mean, any color. I'll take any color. I think it's great. And this one comes in lots of sizes, so you can knit one for a baby or you can knit one for an adult. So you can get one pattern and knit hats for the entire family. It's a new release. It come out in November 2025. There's 0 projects on Ravelry to this date. It would cost you €5.89. It's knitted on 4.5mm needles. That's a US 7, and it's a 19 stitch gauge in stockinette. So the one thing is to check maybe in the pattern, is it actual stockinette or is it colour work stockinette? Just to be sure. The yarn used in this one is Lion Brand Vanna's Choice. That's an acrylic yarn. But I mean, it's a worsted weight yarn. So many options. I'm not going to repeat all of them. Yeah, no, I'm not. It comes in 6 sizes. So literally from baby all the way to a large adult head. So that's really cool. It only comes in English, and the construction is easy. It's bottom up, it has a folded brim, and you make a pom-pom at the end. There you go. And then last but definitely not least, so this is the little stash busting project. The best ever. Because it has options for 4 grams of yarn. So, I mean, whatever you have left in your stash, you can make a little gift out of it. This is the Cottage hair accessories by Wool and Pine. Yes, once again, I know. I just like their designs. What can I say? Not a new collection of patterns. This was published in May 2023. It has 260 projects on Ravelry. It would cost you €4.91. And for the needles, it will range between 3.5mm to 4.5mm. So that's US 4 to 7. Because this is a collection of little patterns. So it has, did I count them? Yeah, 8. It has 8 different little patterns in there. And there's different designs, but also similar designs for different yarn types. So for fingering weight or for a DK. So look at what you have in your stash that looks festive enough or that you want to make into a gift. Look how much you have of it, and then look at the list that is in the pattern description on Ravelry and see what you can make with that. They have small options that will be very quick. They have larger options that will take you maybe a little bit more time, but that might be something that you might want to do. I mean, they have this beautiful little hair tie, and I'm in love. I'm not sure I would wear it, but it's just gorgeous. I kind of want to wear it, but it doesn't really fit in my normal style, but I want it still. yeah, once again, excellent stash buster, beautiful little options if you have gift knits you want to make for your girlfriends, daughters, mothers, you name it, and you don't have a lot of time, so it's a couple of days before Christmas, you can make one of these. And yeah, the only note, the only thing they say is you can use pretty much any yarn, but not plant-based yarn, because that is not going to hold its shape very well. So definitely use a wool. That is, yeah, going to stay beautiful for a longer period of time. And then last but not least, it only comes in English. But there you go. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. Oh, hi Arch, do you want to? Ah, no, just stop. Okay, I've had this jumper for over 10 years and it's really starting to die because the dog keeps getting his little claws stuck in it. For some reason, this jumper is hell for that. In fact, do we need to cut your nails? Because it's getting quite, yeah, it's a bit long. We need to cut it. Yeah, you're going to love that. It's going to be your Christmas present, Archie. But yeah, it's this really cool. Okay, it's really old, so it doesn't look quite cool, quite nice. But it's this really cool texture on the outside, and then it's stockinette on the inside. So this is something I got at Zara, but like at least 10 years ago, I think more. I can't figure out what stitch it is. So if you know what this stitch is, oh yeah, it's really sorry for all the dirt and stuff, but if you know what stitch it is, so the stockinette runs like that. So it's sort of like a slanted kind of thing. I don't know what it is. I've tried to look for it, but I can't find what stitch this is. Let me know down in the comments because I'd love to know. Anyway, this was sort of an aside. What I do also really want to know from you in the comments is what have you been knitting on while watching this? Which patterns did you like in this roundup? What are you going to make? Maybe going to make? Would like to make? We'll see. And then if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That would be really nice. If you've not subscribed yet and you would like to see more of this, interspersed with some knitting updates, then you can hit the subscribe button and then you'll get my videos every week on Friday at usually 5 p.m. if I make my deadline. So yeah, then we get to see each other again. So yeah, that's it for today. So I'll see you next week on Friday, probably just a normal knitting update. Hopefully by then I'm almost done my Highland sweater because that will be very close to the deadline. I'm on the first sleeve, and I need to finish the first sleeve before the end of the test knit, so we will see how that goes. So yeah, I'll see you next Friday at 5 p.m. and happy knitting in the time. Bye bye.